I'm Miriam Joy and welcome to my studio. Today we're working on our pumpkin pie pan, and you can do it either as a wreath or as just a pan hanging by itself. This is a lot of fun. It's not hard at all, and it's a very unique Thanksgiving Day item to decorate with. I think it would also be a great hostess gift if you're attending a Thanksgiving dinner. So let's get started. This project is actually done with a pie pan. It can be an old pie pan, but you want it flat on the bottom. You don't want one that has kind of ruffles, and you want one that's more sturdy, not a throwaway one. I went and picked mine up at one of the dollar stores or Dollar Tree and did it from there. And the first thing I did is I tried doing it first time I did it, I painted the whole thing, and I did not like it at all. It didn't look like a pumpkin. So I went back and took it off, and I only painted the center. And I used 2 coats of pure orange, and this is multi-surface because we're working on a slick background. You want to make sure that it is a multi-surface paint on the background. And it is acrylic paint. The other acrylic paints that I'm going to use are not multi-surface because we already have that base, and we're just going to be going over the top of that, so that's not a big deal. I let them dry in between each coat, and I tried to pull them down starting with this angle and bringing it down. And you can still see kind of different layers through it, and that's okay because we want that kind of depth on that pumpkin. It doesn't have to be solid paints. We're not worried about that. So after that's dry, we're going to go ahead and put our lines in, and I'm going to start up at the top. And that first one, I may have that one too wide, we'll see. We want that first one in the middle, not too wide, because that will be what is looking forwards at you, that ridge on your pumpkin. And then I'm going to do another one right down the middle. Now at the bottom, these don't need to come to a point because this is sitting, and that part is fatter down there than what is up at the top. And I'm using my white charcoal pencil so I can get it off easier, or hopefully it'll probably come off as we're shading it and highlighting it. And I brought this one too far over there, so I'll finish it up right about there. I'm going to be using an angle brush. This is a 1/2 inch angle to shade and highlight my pumpkin with. And I'll talk you a little bit through it, but I also have a really good video that goes into more detail as we're going. I'm going to be using gel medium or gel blending medium instead of just water. If you know how to float with water, do that. That's great. But if you're not really familiar with that, then the blending gel or medium is easier. So I'm going to put that gel into my brush, and I'm going to walk it back and forth. And I'm going to dip half of my brush into burnt sienna. And I'm going to walk it back and forth, and the color should go from solid to no color. And we're going to do this on the outside because this is where the shadow would be. I'm using burnt sienna today because I want a shadow color that's more of a fall festive color. If you were doing Halloween or something different, you would probably want a brighter color, but I want more of the brown color, and that's the reason that I am using that color. And we're just going behind those lines. If you can get all the way down, if you can't, then stop and come back over that. Don't go back over the brown lines. Let them dry real well first because you'll just pick up the paint. Now I just turn my pie pan around, and I'm doing the other side of those lines. Again, what would be behind be shaded. One more here. I'm not worried about being perfect. This is just a fun, kind of festive one. Don't overthink it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to float color, shade it all the way around the outside of the pumpkin now, because that would be towards the back, and that would be in a shadow, not in a highlight. And you have to stop and reload. Just pick up where you left off. If you need to go back later and blend it, let it dry and then go back and blend it. I think people try to use the water and they try to use too much water. Okay, we've got that done. Now, you can see on these guys, they should have been all the way to the bottom. I should have let them dry all the way before I went back and went around that, because I was trying to rush it a little bit. So you want those all the way to the top and the bottom. Now we're going to go ahead and put our highlight in. And my highlight color, I'm going to kind of use like a straw yellow. A nice rich, also kind of maybe an Empire Gold or something like that. A rich yellow, not a real bright yellow like a school bus yellow or crocus yellow. And we're going to float color on the inside of this ridge, because that would be what would be sticking out, and that would be the highlight. And just flip it around here and do this other side real quick. And you can see those charcoal pencil lines are just going away when we hit them with water. That's really nice. Now we've done that guy, so we've got this guy here. And you could even remove the charcoal pencil lines, because you know where you're going with these. You're just going up the opposite of whatever you did the burnt sienna color. And I'm going to go back and hit these guys just a little bit right to the edges, to take them to the edges of the top and the bottom. And like I said, don't worry about it being too perfect. This is just a fun, playful piece. And one of the biggest complaints that I've gotten when I've taken my artwork into places is if it's too perfect, people don't believe that it's homemade. So, don't ever try to be too perfect. Alright, and see how the stripe kind of gives it that look of a pumpkin, so that's why we didn't want to base coat it really well. Now we're going to kind of do a middle float this time and give it some highlight colors. I'm going to put a little fresh puddle of the yellow on there. My straw or pigskin or Empire Gold, whatever you want to do. Now, what we're going to try to do, and if you need to pick a bigger brush out, you can. We're going to load that, and we're going to put that right in the middle of that paint so that you're going out on both sides. You're doing a middle float. And you also can take your fingers and kind of take that away if you want to. And then that float is right down the middle. And you can put that in the areas where the highlight would be, kind of even right down the middle of this as well. And this will also make our pumpkin look more rounded. If you're not comfortable with that, don't worry about doing that. Whatever you want to do. You could do some up here and some down here instead of straight across, or you could even come in and just do it on one side, flip it around, and do it on the other side. And that's another way of doing a middle float. So however you think you want to do that. And it's not a lot of color, it's just enough. So we get that color on there. And like I said, don't try to be perfect. That is it for the painting in this pumpkin, believe it or not. I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to put just a quick coat or two on of brush on varnish. People always ask me what type. Whatever you're comfortable with. This is folk art. It works great for acrylic, but you can use whatever type of brush on varnish that you have that you're comfortable with. And once that's dry, we're going to put it all together. Once that's dry and you've varnished it, and with your varnish, make sure that you never shake them. You always roll them, and that keeps them from getting bubbles in the varnish itself. And then I took my charcoal pencil and I kind of figured out where my leaves would be right here, how wide they would be, and if I was going to put anything at the bottom, how wide that would be, and kind of measured that off so that I didn't put words in there. And with my white charcoal pencil, I wrote in my pumpkin on one side and Pie Day on the other side. And again, I used the white charcoal pencil so that I could see it well enough, but then I could write over it with it having to stick. And we also sell those on our website at miriamjoy.com. So then I took a Sharpie and I tried, I think, the copper first, and it didn't quite show up as much. And you can practice this in the back of your pie pan. Now see, that's showing up better. So I may go with the copper. I think I used my copper for the dots last time, and then gold. So let's try the copper. And then I used brown or an orange Sharpie. We'll take a look at that when we get there, and we'll decide what we like better. And we're just going to write our pumpkin pie all the way around. And you can do this while your pumpkin is drying. The varnish is drying, so don't feel that you can't do that. And I actually went back over these words twice with the pen to get them nice and dark. And you also could paint these on. You don't have to put it on with just the Sharpie. I just used it for its convenience and how quick it was. So I'm going to go ahead and go all the way around this and do it twice, and then we'll come back and do the next layer. I decided to go ahead and use the orange for the little circles because that adds color to this, and it needs color. And I'm putting the little circles anywhere the lines join together in the letters. So anywhere where two lines join together, they're getting a little circle at the end. You can do this however you want to. There is no right or wrong. And then once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my orange just to make the words pop a little bit more. And I'm going to go on the outside just a little bit. I think I said orange and I meant brown. And that's just really going to help those letters even stand out that much more. And you could even do this before you added the circles, whatever you thought worked better for you. And I'm going to go ahead and finish all the way around, and then we'll start putting it all together. Alright, now that we've got our lettering on, the inside of our pumpkin is varnish is all dry. We're going to go ahead and start putting it all together. And I'm going to use paper twist to make my pumpkin stem. And probably about a 6-inch piece. Hardest part for me is unwrapping these. And the paper twist isn't usually quite as hard to unwrap as what I'm actually using. And the paper twist you can usually find at Hobby Lobby or online if you can't find it at your craft store. And I'm going to, whoops, I guess I'm going to rip that and leave that top part. And you can just leave that top part all tied up there. A lot of times I'll untwist it all the way and I'll tear it down and kind of do that to give it more of a viney look. But it's staying so tight up there, I'm just going to leave it the way it is. And I'm going to make my stem just a little bit more rounded though on this case, because some of it would be towards the back, not all towards the front. And we're going to glue that on right there, and then I'm also going to glue it up and over there as well. So we'll get that on. So it would be right down in the pumpkin stem. Now if you left your bottom part wider, make sure that's at the bottom, not the top. And we'll glue that up and over there. And then I'm just going to take some leaves and glue those right on. But you want to make sure that we glue them on there, but we want to make sure they're not in our lettering as much. That's why we kind of measured off some area for our lettering. And leaves, it doesn't matter what kind of leaves you use. You don't want them too big that they're taking up the whole kind of area. I'm going to put that guy there. And I don't like them flat. I try and get them kind of up and out a little bit. Not quite so flat. And I'm going to bring that guy down on to the pumpkin itself. Right there. And by pushing him in right there, that's lifting that leaf up so that he's not flat on to the pumpkin and giving it a little bit of height. Now I'm also going to place a curly Q on it and some berries. You can pick your floral wire up at the dollar store, Dollar Tree, the floral section, or you can also use any craft wire you want. I'm going to use a copper color of craft wire, and I'm going to just curl it around my pencil, and I want it long enough for kind of two pieces here. And I always tell you to get the ends curved in so that nobody gets poked, especially if you have little ones. Just put those ends right in. And so we're going to have two little of our vines, because your pumpkin and gourds have lots of little vines. And then I'm going to finish it off with my berries here. And glue those on. You can use whatever color matches your leaves or the rest of the project. There is no right or wrong on that. Isn't that really pretty? Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and add a little bit of gold glitter highlight. In my last one I put 2. On this one I'm just going to put 1. And you don't want that much. And I'm just using my tacky glue. I'm going to spread it out with my finger. Just enough. And I'm going to just use fine gold. This is polyester glitter. I really like it, but you can use whatever kind of color you want or kind of glitter you want, but I like the real fine. It just gives it that holiday spirit. That glitter. Everything's better with glitter. Now you can stop there. It doesn't matter. And if you like it just the way it is, or I'm going to go ahead and add a little turkey to it since it is Thanksgiving. I do like the little turkey. And I did pick these up at the Dollar Tree, and they're the little solar guys. When they're in the light, they flap up and down, and so they move, so they're kind of animated, so that's kind of cool. And I'm going to put his tail back there. Make sure you line him up with the top, And so the tail is flat, so we're going to make sure that that's the part that we get situated back there. And you don't get him in there. You don't want to put the glue on so that he comes, or the glue comes out the side of the tail. Get that off without getting that on my paint. And I don't know if you noticed how much the varnish really brightened everything up. Really try to varnish those. Now we've got that little open room, so we're going to put a raffia bow right there. And you could decorate it a little bit more if you wanted to put a little bit more in there, but I don't want to take away from the top. And that's going to fill in that space. And nothing says fall quite like raffia. So, going to get that in there. And you want to make sure that you're putting the glue in the areas that that's going to stick to. And that coming out really, really cute. What a nice hostess gift if you needed one for your Thanksgiving as well. Now, if you wanted to leave it just the way it was, take your soda can pop lid and hang that right over the edge so the edge part is sticking out, and glue that on with E6000, and then you have a hanger ready to go. Now, I wanted to put mine in a grapevine wreath, and this is one, and just go and try your pie pans in it, because there's different size pie pans, so I don't want to give you a size and you go and look for it and end up with the wrong one, and it should kind of fit in. If some of these are sticking out wider, you may have to cut them a little bit, but you can just find out which one fits real well with that. And then once I have that ready to go, we're going to use our hot glue where it's going to touch the wreath, and keep your fingers out of that. And we're going to glue that puppy in, and I'm going to hold that just for a little bit there and let that set, and that's going to be all that we're going to do. I hope you had as much fun as I did making this fun pumpkin pie day decoration. If you need a white charcoal pencil or any of our other projects, come on over and visit our website at miriamjoy.com. Thank you for joining me today. God bless you.